Welcome back to the Batesville High School Skill Development Series. As we begin our fourth lesson here today, we start with the D, the I, the S, and the C. What exactly do these things mean, and how do they apply to me? We always start with our mission. We want you to become our world's greatest expert on yourself. That aligns with our vision for all students at Batesville High School, that you're able to grow, that you're able to become desirable applicants through our opportunities, processes, and experiences here, leading towards your status as the most desirable applicant in the room. We're always working towards our objective, which will be practiced this year with our culminating activity for you to be able to answer with confidence the first question asked in every interview. Tell us a little bit about yourself, including your strengths and your weaknesses. So let's dive into today's activity. Our objective today is what if I'm a little bit of both? We've talked very specifically about the characteristics or observable behaviors of the D, the I, the S, and the C. We all have a combination of something. In these situations, what happens when I'm a combination and how I might pair these strengths together, or how I might start to look at these behavioral styles together to give me an advantage as I work towards becoming a desirable applicant. We also want to take a look at how your style will fit into group dynamics, knowing that we will be not only in these groups, but we're in different group settings all throughout our adapted environments. So let's dive in. We'll start here with a quick review. We've talked about our natural style and our adaptive style, and we've done the math here. How much am I adapting in different environments? What does my natural type of DNA tell me about my observable behavior? And then how much am I adapting in different situations? We've also started with the disc wheel. All right, and we're going to talk through a process today of starting first left to right and then top to bottom, not only for ourselves. So am I more reserved or introverted, or am I more of an active and extrovert? Both are fine. In my case, I'm actually a very much of an introverted type of person and oftentimes will be reserved. I know that about myself, and I can also begin to observe that in other people. We're also looking at the top to bottom. Am I more of a task-oriented person? In fact, I am. Or the opposite, or high I or high S, are they more people-oriented type of individuals? We want to first know that about ourselves, but we also want to begin to look at it from a left, right, top, bottom scenario so that we can start to at least understand or identify possible behavioral types of the people that we're interacting with. So what are a couple things that we look at in this scenario? First of all, the number one way looking from left to right is, are they asking me or are they telling me? If I'm interacting with somebody and they're asking me questions, typically they're going to be more of a high C or more of a high S. If they're telling me something, hey, let me tell you about what I've did this week. Let me tell you about what I think. Let me tell you about how I want to go about this scenario. We almost always look at that standpoint as they're a high D or high I. Again, all styles work and there's not a preference to one style over the other, but just being able to interact with somebody and how they speak. Are they more indirect by asking? Are they more direct by telling me what to do? That oftentimes will clue us in if somebody's more of a high D, high I, or more high C or more high S. We're also looking at how they also might respond. We typically see that those that are the high D or high C score oftentimes will be more guarded in how they'll enter into conversation or group dynamics. Those that are high I or high S are typically more open. They're more people-oriented in how they go about things. Looking at this wheel here with some of the questions that people ask or how they may phrase different things gives us an idea of how I'm going to interact in a group dynamic in relation to not only my own style, but those people that are around me. So what if I'm a little bit of both? And we saw in an earlier lesson the group dynamics of how your class lays out, and then also you're grouped in these settings by certain dynamics that are very similar. So as we work our way around this wheel, we're going to look at what a combination might be. So if we look at more of a high D and a high I, or a high I and a high D, those paired together oftentimes, the high D and the high I, are dynamic innovators. If you have a higher I score with a little bit of a lower D, but again, still above the energy line, you're more likely an assertive motivator. And you can see the descriptive words that we've put on here. These are typical descriptors of people that have higher D and higher I scores. As we move our way clockwise around the wheel, we also say what happens if we work with individuals, or maybe I, in this way myself, a high I and high S. So typically we see the high I's and the high S's are warm collaborators. Those with a higher S score, but also a high I score, are friendly mediators. You see the descriptive words there. These typically describe people with a high I and high S score combined, both of which are above the energy line. As we move our ways clockwise around the wheel, we look at what happens when we interact with individuals, or maybe how the individual may be, where somebody has a high C and a high S score. Those with a higher C score but also have S above the energy line are often methodical stabilizers. Those that have a high S score but also a high C score oftentimes are thoughtful planners. And we see here some of the descriptive words that may describe those types of individuals. So this may be you, or this may be people that you're interacting with. As we finish our journey around the wheel to the top, we look at what happens when individuals have a high D and a high C score. This is actually the category that I fall into, with being a high D and a high C combination. So the high C score, which my score is the highest as a C, would be considered a precise leader. Also, those with a higher D score, but also a high C score as well, are objective strategists. You see the descriptive words here that look at characterizing these individuals. So if you're interacting with me, if I were to provide a description of how I would be from these two categories, my two observable behaviors would be either a precise leader or an objective strategist. That's where I'm at my most comfortable. And oftentimes these are descriptive words that can define not only my natural style, but my adapted leadership style. When we begin our next session, we want to look at the process of describing our behaviors as strengths. We're always looking to leverage our strengths and our behavioral styles so that I become the most desirable applicant in any room. We also want to identify some challenges with our behaviors so that we know them and that we're able to look at how we can naturally respond in any type of difficult situation. Thank you for your work so far, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you.